Right, folks, and welcome to part 2 of contracts. And remember, in the last session we talked about contracts can be scary, but the good news is they don't have to be. If you are working with a previously established contract that's been done by an attorney and you want to use one that was done in your state, what you'll find is that pretty much they're all fill in the blanks. But what you want to do is you want to be able to read and understand contracts, because they will they'll have a great impact on how successful you'll be as a real estate investor. Because it's not just enough to find a property, it's not just enough to make an offer, you also have to be able to structure the deal. And so if you don't know how to structure the deal, that's where roughly 50% of the profits come from, in the way you structure a deal compared to just finding the deals. So understanding contracts is what I would call the master's degree, or the doctor's degree, in being a real estate investor. Once you can master contracts, you're going to be doing well. And you say, but Reed, I don't know how to prepare a contract from scratch. Again, as I said in the previous session, you don't have to. You want to take a contract that's already done, and what I would suggest is modify that one. Now, when I first got started in real estate, I didn't know anything about contracts. So I got a copy of a contract. Back in those days, the contracts were recorded down in the public records, and so I went down to the courthouse and I made a copy of a contract from the most expensive law firm in my city, and I did this made copies at 50 cents a page, and then I read this, and then I typed this on an old manual typewriter with the X-outs and the whiteouts and everything else, until when I read it and when I typed it in, I started to understand a little bit better. You're going to say, Reed, that's really hard work. Yes, it is. But guess what? Once you start to read this and understand it, you're going to find that you're going to not be afraid of it. And you're going to say, but I don't understand all the words. Go to a bookstore and they have legal dictionaries. And if you get a dictionary, go through the contract, anything you don't understand, highlight it, look it up in the dictionary, and understand it completely, and then go back in again. By reading it, by researching it, and by typing it, you get a pretty good feel for this. You're going to say, gosh, that sounds like a lot of work. Do I have to do that? Absolutely not. There's an awful lot of real estate investors that have made millions that just have someone else fill out the contract for them. And realtors love to do that, even though they don't do it very well, because that's something that they feel that they're an expert in. Attorneys love to do that because they feel they're an expert in that too. But guess what attorneys do? They just fill in the blanks. They don't do a whole lot more than that usually. Now, you're going to say, why in the world would I need to understand how to structure a deal? Imagine, if you would, that I have 3 houses for sale. One is, let's use $100,000. One is for sale for $100,000, all cash, closed within 5 days. Okay, that's a pretty good deal. The property's worth $150,000, or property's worth $200,000, and you're getting it for $100,000 cash, closed within 15 days. The next one is $150,000, standard financing. Okay, it's worth $200,000, so you've got a bit of a deal. The next one is $200,000, and the property is worth $200,000. But we don't start making payments for 3 years, and the first 5 years are interest only. And I'm only making payments at 3% interest for the first 5 years, and then after that I start to amortize the payments. Which one of those was the best deal? The $100,000, the $150,000, or the $200,000? It's all built on the time value of money. If I don't start making payments for 3 years, and I don't start amortizing the payments for another 5 years, I've got 8 years of basically positive cash flow before I had to start making payments on this thing in full. Now, if I buy that in the right way, that's a great deal. But on the face of it, it looks like a terrible deal. So you always want to be asking yourself, how can I structure this so that it meets the seller's needs and also meets my needs? Now, is that a far-fetched example? Yes, it is. But could you structure something like that in that manner? Sure, as long as the seller agrees to it. Is that legal? Sure. If they don't have an underlying mortgage, whatever they will accept is the price that you can pay. So knowing how to structure a deal is more important to me than almost any other aspect in real estate. You know, say, Reed, this is very complicated. Where do I learn this stuff? Where do I find some of these really good contracts if you don't want me to go to a realtor? Your local real estate investor association. Your local RIA is going to have other investors, and they're going to have all these neat little contracts, and you want to take a look at these and see which ones work best for you. And most of these other real estate investors will gladly give you a copy of one of their contracts. You might have to buy them dinner, you might want to sit down and chat with them, but if you can see what other investors that are successful are doing, that will be a help. Now, one word of caution. I remember once I had this one investor that wanted me to do some illegal stuff. He'd been doing this for quite some time, and I said, you know, that's not right, and that's not legal. He says, yeah, but nobody's caught me yet. Well, that's the operative word, yet. One final word on contracts. A contract isn't needed. If a person is honorable, they will perform by the letter of the contract, and you don't need it. If a person is unhonorable or dishonorable, they're going to violate the contract anyway. Go ahead and write the contract anyway, because what happens is it just serves as sort of a guide to let you know what the rules are and how you're going to play the game. That's all a contract is. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write me at readbetweenthelines@yahoo.com.